Well, a very good afternoon to you and welcome back to Burnout here live with myself, Jo Pack, until 4 o'clock this afternoon. In the studio with me now is former motorcycle and truck racer, motorsport commentator, speaker and all-round entertainer, Steve Parrish. Steve, I'm going to take us through a few little jokes because, you are a notorious practical joker and you have spent most of your life doing pranks on people, and I'm going to talk about ones perhaps that we can talk about on air. First of all, I have to ask you, what happened in Macau?
Oh, Macau was in my youth, of course. It was rather embarrassing because I'd only just got married and I went off to do the last race of my career, really, in '86 in Macau with a bunch of mates like Mick Grant and Bernard Murray and a few people like that. And I've always liked a bit of a pyrotechnic kind of situation, a firework, I guess you could say. And I went to the local shop where they make all the fireworks for Chinese New Year and bought the biggest firework you can ever see, probably as big as that Monster Energy can over there. And the blue touch paper was lit by another mate of mine called Paul Butler, actually, that now lives on the Isle of Man here. He ended up being Kenny Roberts' team manager, and then he ended up being race director. Anyway, we lit the blue touch paper and it went off quicker than I thought and rolled it into this establishment that had a red light over the, I think they call them brothels or something like that. I don't know if I can say that word. Anyway, it went off way better than I imagined it could. But unfortunately for me, the chief of police was also in this establishment at the time, and his driver saw what went on. And cutting the story relatively shortly, I ended up in prison for 4 days in Macau for blowing up a brothel. So it was slightly embarrassing to ring my wife up and tell her that I might not be home for Christmas because I'm in prison.
And also apparently never allowed back into Macau either.
Yeah, I've been banned from worse places though.
Okay, moving on quite quickly. What about posing as Barry Sheene in one qualifying session?
Well, that was it was a favour to Barry, actually. What had happened, and the story gets kind of twisted around a bit because a lot of people, how people embellish stories and everything else, and everyone says, oh, Barry Sheene was drunk and he couldn't ride his bike and this, that and the other. What happened was, it was post-TT, Mallory Park, and he wasn't drunk at all. What happened is one of the screws came loose in his knee that he damaged in his accident at Daytona in 1975, and his knee locked up, so they had to rush him off to find a chiropractor or an osteopath to get his knee fixed up. But it meant that he was going to miss qualifying, and the team manager, Rex White, at the time came over and said, is there anything we can do? I said, yeah, let me dress up as him and go out there. So I put his leathers and helmets on and got on his number 7 bike and just went out and did 3 or 4 laps around Mallory Park, which was hilarious because all the young girls were waving at me and throwing their knickers at me and stuff like that. I was loving it. Little did they know, as this bloke with big ears and a big nose is behind the dark visor and not the handsome Barry Sheene. And it was hilarious. Anyway, I came in, rushed back and hid the bike in the awning, because you could do that in those days, jumped out of his suit into mine, put my helmet on, leathers on, my mechanic had my bike ready. I went out and did about 20 minutes practice. We changed the jetting and the gearing on the bike, came back. Barry comes back about 1 o'clock. How'd it go, Stavros? I said, well, I've done 4 laps. You're qualified, so you can go out and do the race. Well, where are we on the grid? I said, I don't know, because back then it wasn't electronic time and it was all handwritten stuff. We went to the toilet block. There it was, front row Barry Sheene, third row Steve Parrish. I'd out-qualified myself. It must have been all the fans waving that speeded me up.
You just couldn't do that nowadays, could you?
Can you imagine Jorge Lorenzo swapping Valentino Rossi's leathers and going and qualifying? Just, these things don't happen, and that's what's been so lovely about doing the theatre shows and the Mad Tour. It's all the things that you could do and you did do and you got away with, really. I say it's like when PC stood for pulling crumpet.
There's loads that I want to talk about, but obviously you are at the Gaiety Theatre this evening, and this is the type of things that you're going to be talking about. I mean, you do have also a collection of emergency service vehicles. Now, I won't go into that, but if you want to know more about these stories, then you do need to get to the Gaiety tonight, because I believe there's still tickets available.
Yes, there is some tickets available on the door, and also there is the fact that people got me back. I haven't always got other people. I got done by Beatles About, and we've got the clip up there when they got me back. So yeah, it's a great fun night. I love working in theatres, particularly somewhere like the Gaiety, because it's such a lovely old theatre and it's got a real nice atmosphere. One of my pranks this week, I'm staying with some lovely people actually over here, Zoe Campbell, and they've got a great bulldog called Javier and stuff like that, and I've actually played a little prank on them, and if they're listening to this, they won't know what the prank is until it gets them.
Oh, good luck with that, Zoe. And also your daughter helps you on these tours as well, doesn't she?
My daughter Frankie normally does, but actually tonight is a slightly different show. It's still very much a Mad Tour, but my new wife Michelle, is taking over Frankie's role, because Frankie's actually in Geneva this week, so it's probably even more embarrassing. Some of the stories that actually come out in front of your daughter is bad enough, but when it's in front of your new wife, it's even more embarrassing. So if we do a little question and answer time, if you're going to ask me any questions tonight and you're coming along, just remember my wife sat beside me, all right?
She's the beautiful blonde, and congratulations, because you did get married. That was quite a surprise. That just suddenly appeared on everyone's feeds.
Yeah, it did. We'd been together for 14 years. I've been leasing her for 14 years, and the balloon payment came up, and it was cheaper to buy her than send her back. But no, truthfully, we decided it was the right thing to do, and it's working out well. She hasn't, now we're married, she's still just as nice to me, which is even better.
Lucky you. I tell you what, I reckon you're punching though.
I am punching above my weight a little bit, but that's not difficult, is it? I've always had a great face for radio.
Well, now that you're live on my IOMTT Facebook page, you have to have your makeup with you and everyone.
My cover's blown. I get all these people, you must get the same. I know you from somewhere. They can't quite place you if you're out of sequence. And my answer normally is, yeah, you've seen me on The Undateables or something like that.
And Michelle is here outside the RST shop, I believe, and she's selling your books for you. So she's helping you with that as well. Yeah,
very much so. We've actually nearly sold out of the books we brought up here to do. But RST, who support me with my clothing and safety wear and helmets and stuff, kindly let me put a little thing up there, stand up there. And yeah, we've just about sold out on the books. But we have got some left tonight. If anyone wants to come along, they can buy a personalised book as well. So yeah, it's all going together nicely for tonight.
Within the book, I loved one of the quotes that says, "Neither of us will die wondering." Our last words from Parrish. Oh, I'll say that again. I completely messed that up. Sorry. Neither of us will die wondering, and those were the last words to you from your best friend Barry Sheen.
Yeah, they were, and in fact, the foreword, amazing. I've been ready to write this book possibly for the last 20 years. I've kept a diary, and when anything daft happened, I've written it down, and other people have come and told me things that went on. But sadly, Barry passed away in 2003, but before he did, I asked him to write the foreword, so he did really do that, and it more or less says that I was such a lucky person, which I was. I think it was something like, if I fell in a cesspit, I'd come out with a salmon on my head, and that's probably right. I am one of the luckiest people I know, because I had a blessed life, and I do miss the old boy. I'd love him to be here. He did race at the TT and didn't really enjoy it, but he'd have loved coming along here and having a few beers and meeting the fans, so we'd all miss him immensely.
Well, we're so happy that you are here, and talking about your book, there's been so much positive feedback about it on social media. You must be delighted with that.
I am really delighted, because it's different to most books. It says my life as a racer, but it's not really it is my life as a racer, but it's not about what went on the track. It's what went on off the track and all the stuff behind the scenes that go on, or did go on. I'm not so sure if they do now, because I feel sorry for some of the riders with the social networking that goes on. You can't really do a lot because people capture it. But back in my days, we kind of got away with it, and I think it was long enough ago for me to eventually tell a story. So that's really what the book's about. And I swear, if you don't laugh at the book, you've got some issues, because it is very fun. And like you say, great feedback on the social media.
Imagine if phones were around in your day, Steve.
I'd still be in prison now. I'm a bit worried that I'm going to get a tap on the shoulder from a policeman even when they read the book, and the same when we go to the theatre, because there's even some funny policeman stories at the theatre show.
Let's just finish this chat now talking about the IOMTT races this year, and even though you're not working within it, as you said earlier on the show, you are out enjoying and doing a little bit of commentary on your own social media channels. Just talk me through how you feel racing is going so far.
I am so disappointed I wasn't doing the commentary for the Superstock race yesterday. I heard you say it's the best of the week. I think it's the best of the decade, quite honestly. And there's been some great races, we know, and they all talk about the Hislop and Fogarty and this and that. But having three guys out there, it's a nip and tuck, 10th of a second here. And can you imagine what was going on? And I saw Hickey last night at Portofino's restaurant. He was obviously celebrating because it's a great restaurant. But
hey, he's getting paid well then.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and Hutchie was in there as well, so he must be getting paid with his helicopter and stuff. But you can imagine when you're getting a pit board plus 0.1 or 0.2, the pressure that you're under not to make a mistake over 250 corners around this amazing course. So I was, again, with the radio, and it was just fascinating seeing little bits being taken here, and then you get a back marker and the pressure that those guys are on about. But I applaud Hickey, for it was fantastic. He lost about 8 seconds when he went overshot on the first lap, and then I think he lost about 4 seconds on the pit stop because he didn't know what button he'd got his speed limiter on. It was tremendous, and I'd love to have commentated on it. So I might even go home and commentate on myself on my own.
Can you send me a copy of that?
I'll do that, all right.
And also one of my favourite quotes from yesterday, listening to Manx Radio TT, was the infamous Roy Moore saying, "I don't believe it."
Absolutely, it was Victor, wasn't it? Victor himself, but I couldn't either. And just riveting, because they were all those guys, Dean and Michael and Hickey, were just... It was just like Brands Hatch Short Circuit on 37 3/4 miles, and there was so much going on. It was, for me, the race of the decade.
And then to jump off the bike and have to go out for lightweight qualifying, I mean, unbelievable fitness now as well.
Yeah, it's tremendous stuff, and the guys are proper gladiators, and they entertain us immensely. But yeah, I've said on social media, I have a love-hate relationship with this wonderful island, because it's so sad at times, and the peaks and the troughs that go on, and you know, we have to think about that at times. But the racing was tremendous, but we've had some sad moments as well, and my deepest thoughts are with the families of those that have had those sad moments.
Thanks, Steve. It's been wonderful having you here. We could talk to you for the whole show, but unfortunately we have got other guests coming on there, so I better save some space for them. I hope you've enjoyed listening to Steve Parrish, and if you want to know more or hear more from Steve, then make sure that you get to the Gate Theatre tonight, because there are still tickets available on the door, and the show starts at 8 o'clock.
And we have put the red arrows on for you just before the show, so you can watch, and we've organised that, so all the fans around there, the red arrows are courtesy of the Mad Tour tonight. Watch them and come into the show at 8 o'clock. We'd love to see you. Thanks, Joe. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you so much. We're going to take a break now.